And does President Obama have a drone problem? Some argue he certainly does, especially after yesterday's strike on that al-Qaeda compound, which accidentally killed 2 hostages, including 1 American citizen. Bloomberg calls President Obama's language on drones Orwellian. And joining us now to go more in depth on this is Judy Miller, author of the new book, The Story, A Reporter's Journey. She's also a New York Times bestselling author. We should clarify that. And always great to talk to you, Judy.
Hi.
Congratulations on your new book as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, Judy, I want to ask you real quickly. Former CIA Director Mike Morrell is defending the use of drones. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
The collateral damage is very low. These are the most precise weapons in our arsenal. And Scott, these strikes, there's no doubt in my mind that these strikes, which have been fairly aggressive since 2008, have prevented another 9/11 style attack in the United States.
Well, Mike Morrell certainly has insight as a former CIA director, but I want to ask you, Julie, do you think they're doing more to stop these style attacks or do more to recruit terrorists?
Well, I think the problem is that you can make both arguments and both can be true. On one hand, the drones are extremely useful as a tactic for killing and destroying enemy compounds, individuals associated with ISIS and al-Qaeda. They can be safely used without risking American soldiers and spilling American blood. The downside is when you make mistakes, and of course mistakes are made, they do tend to result in widespread civilian fury, which lays the ground open for greater recruitment. So they are a tactic that should be used with care and with consideration, but they should also not be confused with a strategy, which is part of the problem with our policy today.
Well, Judy, I don't know if you saw both the president's statements as well as the White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest talking to the media after the fact. He had a very difficult time answering what seemed to be a very simple question, whether or not this was a legal drone strike. We know that the Justice Department outlaid the president's plans on how he uses drones. What is your take, and why do you think it was so difficult for the White House to talk about the legalities of this particular strike?
Well, I think the problem is that if you recall the disclosure of the president's intimate involvement in the selection of targets, which was disclosed in the New York Times at about the time when they began defending their policy, they had portrayed the president as being personally involved in the selection of each and every target. And they showed him poring over these lists, weighing pros and cons of a strike. And it's clear in this case, at least from what the White House has said, that he did not personally authorize this strike. This was said to be a situational strike aimed at the compound, which was believed to be associated with al-Qaeda. And therefore, it didn't fit the mold either of the public narrative that they had given the Times and given other papers, but also with the standards that they had said they were adhering to. And that's why I think the legality of this has been questioned. But I have to say, on this one, I'm kind of with the White House. That's an unusual position for me, but they are, I believe that drones are on balance in this war on terror, as long as the United States is unwilling to commit great numbers of special forces to this fight. They are one of the few tactics we have for disabling and destroying the enemy.
Yeah, I do agree with you there to a certain extent, but I am also, and again, I'm not the expert, you have a lot more knowledge on this than I do, but you hear a lot of pundits and experts talking about the lack of intelligence on the ground, and it certainly seems like that played a role in this mistake happening. But before you go, Judy.
Because we don't have people.
Yeah, we don't have people actually doing the work,
people.
and you would like to see a more robust see the president talk about that in a more specific way. I do want to mention the book real quickly before we go, Judy. It's called The Story, A Reporter's Journey. Real quick, about 20 seconds left. Were you surprised how quickly the New York Times turned their back on you after you went to prison trying to protect a source, being a good reporter?
And I was surprised, and I was also deeply disappointed because their conduct wasn't consistent with the traditions of this proud institution. And I think what happened was both, unfair, but life is unfair. But I think it really raised questions about the paper's leadership itself. And it also, by the way, my book raises profound questions, and it's why I hope people will read it, about our intelligence community.
All right, well, we want to mention it one more time, Judy, and it's a good point there, especially what's going on. The Story, A Reporter's Journey. You can get it right now. Judy Miller, thanks for being with us.